Hey, welcome back to the JSV Podcast, episode 5. Now, I know it's been a minute since we've done an episode. I've been planning and then attending a work trip, and it just took a little bit longer than I expected to kind of get back into this, but a lot to talk about, so I want to go ahead and just dive right on in. So, with the MLB, I'm recording this on March 24th, so the MLB season starts this week, just right around the corner. By the time the episode comes out, we would have already been a couple of games in. Super excited. Excited to have baseball back. Always a fun time. I love opening the first few games because typically it's ace v ace in terms of pitchers. So one team's best pitcher versus the next team's best pitcher. You get some really fun pitching matchups that way, and then you just have to see whose offense is better, who has the better bullpen, etc. So really fun. I'm very, very excited. I will definitely be watching a lot of baseball for these next few days. So very excited about that. We'll see how teams will look in this opening week, and then we'll talk about it next week. But for this episode, I really want to talk more about the idea of doing a salary cap. It's an idea that's been floated out there a while for baseball, and I think has really started to hit some traction this year because of what the Dodgers have done. And I have always been a fan of the salary cap. I have heard the arguments both ways on, owners should just spend, they're making all this money, they should just spend it, and there's no need for a salary cap. There should be a salary floor. I agree. I think you get both. You get the salary floor with the salary cap. You're gonna get both, but the reason why I like the salary cap is just because it kind of puts every team on an even playing field, regardless of the size of the market. The NFL does it, the NBA does it. Those players are, star players are still able to make their money, while other players are still able to, get paid, I guess, what they should for the amount that they contribute. For football, it might be a little bit different, especially for running backs, just because their careers are a little bit short-lived due to the physicality of it. But for baseball, I think you could definitely do a salary cap and still be able to have players get paid what they deserve to. I don't think it's going to be as much of a hindrance as people say. And I'm not saying this because I'm hating what the Dodgers done. Look, anyone can do what the Dodgers have done. It's just the Dodgers are doing it. You can't hate that. If I was a fan of the Dodgers, I would be right there with them, saying this is awesome, this is great, this is not bad for baseball. And so I agree. I don't think it's bad for baseball. I'm not saying that you need a salary cap for that reason. I just think that salary cap would help probably the more of the small market teams just be able to compete with those large markets, because they don't have a chance at signing anybody because the large markets just outbid them. And I think you get more parity with a salary cap. Now, baseball already has a lot of parity just from the way the sport works. We see a lot of juggernaut teams on paper get defeated by lesser teams. The meme is through the power of friendship. We saw that with the Phillies in 22, Braves in 21. They were very much of an underdog as well. You got the Nationals in 19. The most recent one was the Diamondbacks in 23. You always have those teams that you're like, okay, obviously you're a good team, but you're not to the level of some of these top tier teams, and yet they beat those top tier teams and they go on to the World Series and in some cases win it. And so you already have that parity in baseball, and a salary cap will just create even more parity, which I think can only be good for the sport. Gets more fan bases excited for the season, gets more eyes on the sport. Even if you're not a fan, diehard baseball fan, you're more of a casual fan, you'll get to see a little bit more parity, and you can watch a baseball game and think, oh, either team can win versus, yeah, this team's probably just going to blow them out. I'll stop watching after the second inning and that's it. So I think it can only be a good thing. And I just don't really understand the argument against it. You can still do the same thing. You could set it up similar to how the NFL does. NFL, they have so many, positions. You see players restructure contracts all the time. And baseball kind of is doing that right now with the deferred money. It's like, we're not going to pay you now, we're going to pay you later. That's kind of that's basically what the restructuring of NFL contracts does. It's not quite to the degree of the deferred money that we've seen with the Dodgers, where they're pushing it out, years and years in advance, or years and years ahead of them. But you can still have like some deferred money, or you can just, if you want to keep the deferred money, you can, and it'll just be, okay, we're going to decrease their salary cap hit for this year, but in 2030, they're going to have a larger salary cap hit. And you're basically doing the same thing. It's just they affect your salary cap differently. Just like, okay, we're still going to pay this money, just we're going to pay it later. We're going to pay it a little bit differently than what maybe some other teams would do. So I don't see how it's a bad thing. I really don't. It's, now you could say obviously like the Mets may not be able to do the spending, or the Dodgers may not be able to do the spending, so then those players won't get paid the same. But because you still have a salary floor, because we're not talking about just the salary cap. We're talking about a salary floor too. Like, teams have to stay within here. You can go above it, NFL, NBA, they have luxury taxes for going above the salary cap, but you can. So you can definitely go above the salary cap, but here's like you're doing good if you're within this salary floor or salary cap. So you still have the salary floor. So players will still get paid, good money and what they're supposed to, but you still have the cap. So again, small market teams can actually compete for large markets. So the Dodgers may not be able to sign all these different players, but other teams now can, and that's what causes the parity. You're spreading out the talent. So I don't see how it's just, I just don't understand the arguments against it. So if there's others, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Those are just some of the ones I've heard, that it's like players aren't going to get paid that much, and it's just going to be more of a detriment on the players. I don't see it that way, because if one team doesn't pay them, another team will. I don't think we've seen that in the NFL, NBA, where we're seeing players get paid less than what they should, just because teams have that salary cap. Like, you're going to have tanking teams who want to sign a big name player that can help them out, and then you'll have teams that are right on the cusp of being contenders who want to make that signing to get them over the hump. And free agency is still going to be just as important for baseball to improve your roster, because of all the minor leagues that you have, how long it takes prospects to develop and get ready for the show. So you're still going to have plenty of activity in free agency. I feel like they could try it. I don't really know how you would try it and then get rid of it. That'd be pretty tough to do, because then people are going to be handing out contracts while you try it. But I don't know. I wish they could simulate it, just see how it works in theory, and then try to put that into practice. But again, we've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in the NBA. I get MLB is different, but it's still similar. You're still paying players what their market says, and trying to improve your roster and all that. Like, the idea, the framework is similar. Now the positions, of course, and how much you pay, that's all different, obviously. But I think you can make it work. You can make it work. And again, baseball has already changed some rules that I think have actually made it a better watch for casual fans, like the ghost runner at second, and then the pitch clock. Those have sped up the game, have made it more exciting to watch. I think we're seeing that in some of the viewerships. And so now MLB is getting more money, which would allow them to also increase the salary cap, just like you see with the NFL and NBA. They keep increasing their salary caps as they're making money and as the market gets better. So it's, again, you're not just gonna get a salary cap and now you're stuck at that cap. No, it's gonna keep increasing. as you keep as the sport continues to gain its popularity and people continue to keep watching, and you get more returning eyes on the game. And I think a salary cap would help because, again, you increase the parity. So now teams from maybe some of the smaller market fans will want to watch because their team actually has a chance, versus now where they're like, who cares? The Dodgers are just going to run through us and it doesn't matter. And you really only have the diehard fans that are going to keep watching, and casual fans might just go watch the Dodgers instead. So you can get a little bit more eyes on the sport with a salary cap and with the increased parity that then would already exist. So I don't think a salary cap is a bad thing. But again, love to hear your thoughts on that. But super excited for the season to start. Excited to see where we go from here. And that's really all I have. I guess the last point I will say, though, and this is kind of in favor of maybe not having a salary cap, but I'll still say it anyways because I just thought about it. It might be a little hard to implement because obviously, like the Dodgers, for example, they have a lot of money on the books. Same with the Yankees, Mets, and so you have to kind of say, okay, we implement a salary cap, and those teams are already above that cap. Are we going to penalize them when they didn't know about this? Like, they'd probably do business a little bit differently if they knew about the cap. So that'll be interesting. Maybe they just say, hey, here's the salary cap. And if you're already above it, we won't penalize you for the first, 5-6 years, whatever, but you can still only work within that cap. I don't know. That's not my job, but I did think about that, and that would be that'd be tough. That would be tough. That's really the only thing I could think of is you just have to kind of give them a, X amount of year exception for being over the cap, and then after that exception period, then you start actually taxing people, the luxury tax that you see from like basketball and NFL. But yep, so that's all I have for the MLB side. We'll have a little bit more to talk about after we watch some of these opening games for next week. So moving on to the NBA. So NBA is kind of drawing close to the end. I initially, at the time that episode 5 was supposed to come out, we would have been talking about like the All-Star break. And there's a lot that can be said about it, but I think all of it's already been said, where it's like you need the players to care. And Adam Silver's tried, like he got Steph Curry to try to talk about this new system, which I don't hate the new system. I don't. I didn't watch the games, but from the highlights I saw and from what I had heard about it, it actually did show some kind of like sense of caring from the players, at least in certain parts, but not consistently. I think the biggest critic that I had heard and what I experienced on Saturday watching those events was there's just a ton of commercials. It's like we don't have as much basketball being played, and it's mainly just show and commercials. And I get it. All-Star Weekend, it's a show. It's supposed to generate revenue and everything. But you gotta tone down on the commercials, otherwise people will not want to watch. It's like players don't care, and I gotta watch commercials. That's just a recipe for disaster. So the first part is, yes, you have to get players to care. You get players to care, you can get eyes to watch, and maybe you don't need as many commercials as a result. Or then you can start thinking about decreasing the amount of commercials. I don't know, but step one is got to get the players to care. Draymond Green did not do any favors for you with this new platform. And again, his teammate, Steph Curry, helped design this new this new setup, this new setup for All-Star Weekend, where it's going to be more of a tournament. And then he goes on and says, oh, well, this is dumb. This is not competitive. No one cares. No one's going to watch this. And basically just gave it a 0 out of 10. It's like, he did that pregame, from what I heard. It's like, why are you doing it pregame, dude? We didn't even give it a chance. We didn't even get to see it, and you're already bashing it. And again, your teammate and one of the biggest names in the NBA helped design it. and you're just going to bash it without even seeing it. That made no sense. And I think that's kind of a killer, too. It's like players aren't even going to give it a chance before, and they're just going to assume, oh, this isn't going to work. It's stupid. Well, clearly the other ways weren't working. You guys didn't care playing East versus West or doing the draft or doing like the charity stuff. Like they've tried to make some changes throughout All-Star weekend and for the All-Star game, and the players still don't care. They might care a little bit, especially initially, but then they just go right back to, oh, that's right, this is All-Star weekend, who cares? It's like, you're the problem. I'm not saying like just Draymond or anything, but like the players are the problem. So it's ridiculous to hear a player then bash the new system where it's like, we only have this new system because you guys didn't care. You guys aren't playing hard. Adam Silver is not going to just sit back and do the exact same thing hoping for a different result. That's the definition of insanity. So he's going to make a change. He tried to work with one of the players on making this change. And then before we even got to see it, that player's teammate in Draymond Green bashed it on live TV for everyone to see. It made no sense. I think that was dumb and ridiculous. Like, at least give it a chance, at least try, or if you're going to bash it, then how about you do some self-reflecting as a player who's been in the All-Star game multiple times and kind of think, okay, we as players have to care in order for us to actually get the system that we want. If you want East versus West, then tell the commissioner, we want this and we promise we'll care and we'll try and we're going to go do our hardest, play our hardest. If you want the USA versus World, okay, well, we can try that. We can see how that works. But if people don't care, guess what? It's not going to stay. People have to care. People are going to have to play hard. So people watch it. Like fans watch it. So it seems a little ridiculous. I don't even really know how you would fix it. I think Adam Silver's trying to do everything he possibly can. USA versus World's an interesting one. I think it's a little... But the thing is, a lot of the international players are starting to become the best players. So unless you have a very even amount of all-stars between USA and World, then the teams become a little unbalanced. So that's the only thing I could think of as to what might hinder that idea. Because you could have, 20 all-stars be international players and the rest be USA, and now you have a imbalanced team. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a great idea. It's just hard in theory, or not in theory, in practice. Especially with the world catching up to the U.S. Because, you're not talking about just one country versus the U.S. It's the world versus the U.S. So, maybe you could do world versus, like, North America. That way you can at least have the Canada players, like, Shea. I guess he's really the only all-star from Canada, actually, now that I think about it. RJ Barrett maybe one day will be an all-star. Jamal Murray, really have to find his previous form to become an all-star. But, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Adam Silver, I feel for you because I know you're trying and the players are just not helping you out. I think you got to get rid of the skills challenge, though. I don't think the skills challenge is that exciting. I don't know. Maybe you could do instead of a skills challenge, like a 2v2 tournament. That might be more fun. You could have seen like Chris Paul and Wemby go against I think it was Donovan Mitchell and Mobley, I believe, and then I think you had Draymond. Oh, I forgot who Draymond's partner was on that, but yeah, like you could do something like that. Maybe like just 2v2 tournament instead of that. Instead of the skills challenge, that could be more fun. So different things that they might have to try there, but NBA closing down the season. We'll make some playoff predictions once we get closer to the end of the season. But, and I kind of want to, I think I'll wait till next week to talk about how the trade deadline acquisitions have really started to look, just to give them an extra week together again. And because I spent most of the time talking about the All-Star break. I do also want to touch on NCAA March Madness, because March Madness is going on. We are, at the time of I'm recording this, it is the round of 16 that will happen this weekend. Again, these episodes drop on Sunday, so round of 16 would have pretty much concluded by the time this comes out. But we have some good matchups. I still, it was unfortunate to see Arkansas beat St. John's. One, because I'm a UT fan, and Arkansas, if you know, you know. They don't like us. I don't really care about them, but I liked St. John mainly because I have a friend that's the manager on the basketball team. So just wanted to see them succeed, to see him succeed and stuff. But nope, St. John's did fall to Arkansas, but great season for them. I'm sure they'll be back. And so, got a little distracted here, sorry. So great season by St. John's. And looking at the slate of games, I think like right now you have Texas Tech versus Arkansas. That should be a good one. Arkansas's look pretty good in this tournament. Texas Tech is always going to be one of the better college basketball teams in the country, and I do have Texas Tech winning that game. I'm not going to go through each one because I don't remember all the matchups off the top of my head. But I can tell you I have like Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Tech, and who are the ones I'm forgetting? Oh, Duke. Yeah, wow. Sorry, Duke fans. Why am I drawing a blank on the last one? I apologize if, or not the last one, I think I'm missing two. But if I'm forgetting your team, I apologize. But those are just some of the ones I remember that are playing this weekend. Of the 16 teams, 7, I believe, were from the SEC. It's like people were just dogging the SEC for not being a football conference anymore. Where it's like, oh look, back-to-back Big Ten, and Big Ten had 2 teams in the Final Four, if you want to call it that, and semifinals for football, whereas SEC only had 1 team, and it was your newcomer in Texas, who barely got through, Arizona State. But now the SEC has really started to show itself in basketball because, again, you have, you're still going to have Kentucky being good. Arkansas is now really starting to step up, which I think actually I saw that they were in like 3 of the last 4 Sweet 16s. So they've actually been trending pretty well for the last time, but Calipari might be actually able to take them into the next step. But yeah, you have Kentucky, you have Arkansas, and then you have the big dogs like Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and then why am I trying to bring on the 7th team? There is a 7th team. I don't know. Oh, A&M. I know they're good. Did they move on? Yeah, because Oklahoma already lost. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was A&M. But yeah, so like you have those schools, like SEC is starting to really become a big powerhouse for basketball. And it's like, okay, wow, you also still have like baseball. SEC's typically been a pretty good baseball and softball or baseball conference. Now it's going to be a little bit bigger on softball as well because you have UT and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's won the last few X amount of championships for baseball. So I just think that was interesting. SEC fell off a little bit on the football side this year, but they've increased in basketball heavily. And then UT Women's has joined South Carolina as being one of the top in the country for women's basketball, so they're still very, very prevalent there. But yeah, I think the schools I did name, those are the big ones that I'm expecting to move on. I can tell you that I made a ton of brackets, and the one that's in the 98th percentile so far, which is doing really good, is the one where I have Florida win it all. So I guess I'm going to cheer for Florida to win it all. They had a bit of a scare against UConn, but hey, UConn was playing for a three-peat. They had a lot playing for it. They're very well coached, very good team. and Florida was able to get past them. So I think that was like a little bit of their wake up call. It's like, hey, we're starting to play really good competition already in the round of 32. We cannot let up on the gas at all. And I think that's only going to make them scarier. So I'm very excited for the Elite Eight. I think the Elite Eight is going to have a ton of very, very fun matchups. The Sweet 16 is going to have some fun matchups as well. I just mentioned the Arkansas Tech. I believe Kentucky and Tennessee are playing each other. That's going to be another fun one. There's going to be a ton. Oh, man, is it Alabama? Not Alabama. Is it A&M and Michigan State, I believe? I don't know. I think Michigan State was playing another pretty good team, though. That I was like, oh, that's one to keep an eye on. So there's some really good matchups already. Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, Championship. I mean, I think we're in for a very, very fun March Madness here. So very, very excited for that. Definitely be watching those games. And let's see. But yeah, I do have Florida win it all. Man, I made a bracket where I saw like Tennessee win it all, Auburn win it all, Alabama win it all, St. John's win it all, Duke win it all. Yes, I did pick St. John's just because, again, my friend is a manager on the basketball team. I had to at least have one bracket where they won it all, so I could root for them. But yeah, the one that's really doing well is the one where I have Florida winning it all. I think that's very, very high possibility. What'll be interesting is I know Alabama has to get through Duke to get to the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken, but it'd be very, very interesting if we got like an all-SEC Final Four. Like, it's very, very possible. Auburn wins, Tennessee wins, Florida wins, and then Alabama can get past Duke and they win. You could see an all-SEC Final Four, and I think it's very, very possible. Alabama and Duke is the only one that's like, ooh, I don't know about that. But, again, SEC, hey, they may not be there for football, but they're still a power conference, that's for sure. And then as for Duke, I mean, Duke's just been on a tear. I mean, they've been just really, really good on these first two rounds, which was expected. And, Cooper Flags looked good. He's the consensus number one pick in the NBA draft. And so we'll see. I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, he's going to come back. He's going to come back. He's not going to come back. He's not going to come back. I'm sorry. He's not going to come back. He's going to go to the NBA because, his stock is at an all-time high, and especially with him getting even a little bit injured to end the season, the regular season. Last thing you want to do is come back to college, risk an injury, and tank your draft stock. Now, because he's so good, you might be able to get away with going back and risking the injury and still get draft high. I just don't see why you would. It's like, you're good now, you're young, you're guaranteed the number one overall pick. I don't see why you wouldn't just declare for the NBA draft and go pro, make your millions, play at the professional level and everything now instead of just risk it. If Duke wins a national championship, I guarantee he's going to the NBA draft. If they don't, maybe if they lose in the championship, okay, maybe we could have that conversation. I just don't see it. I think he's going to make the leap, and I think he should. It just makes sense. There's no reason to stay in college and risk, again, a big injury when you have a chance to be the number one pick going pro. Like, it's a big, big deal. So I think he'll go pro, but Duke does look really, really good, and they're really capitalizing on his talent right now, which is great because that team it's not just him. They're a very, very good team. And they proved that with still winning the conference without Cooper Flag. I'm excited. I think the Elite Eight is going to give us it's going to be littered with great matchup after great matchup. So super, super excited. Those games cannot come fast enough. But that's really all I have on the basketball side. Not really too much to talk about in terms of the NBA, just because it's kind of like in the dog days of the schedule. where you're just, okay, it's towards the end. You kind of know who are the playoff teams, who aren't. There's still some teams fighting for the play-in spot, and there's still teams that are still fighting for seeding, of course. Like, I'm not saying these are all locks, but we kind of have an idea of, yeah, these teams are going to be in the playoffs. These teams probably won't be. And then we can start talking about, like, playoff predictions once we get the actual official bracket. I'm going to do some play-in predictions and then play-off predictions as well. But again, that's later. That's going to obviously be like in April once the season ends. Oh, wow, April's right around next week. Okay, so yeah, coming here soon. But going to now the NFL. So with the NFL, we just had free agency. And we're about to have the draft here just kind of shortly. But free agency, I mean, it's still not completed. There's still some good free agents out there that have not been picked up yet. I'm a little surprised by that, truthfully, but they're still out there. We'll see what happens with them. They might be signed by the time this comes out, in which case we'll talk about it next week. But of the teams, like just kind of talking about like free agency, I'm not going to go team by team, so if I don't talk about your team, I apologize. But, you know, leave in the comments how you felt your team did. If you liked what they did in free agency, what you didn't like. I can tell you as a Cowboys fan, it was what I expected. I was like holding on to a little bit of hope that they might do something, but I knew they wouldn't. And deep down, I knew they wouldn't, and they didn't. They got bargain deals like they always do. They have a couple of interesting signings where I'm like, okay, hold up, that might prove to be something. And I don't hate the idea of bringing in like Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I liked the idea better with bringing in Javonte Williams and re-signing Rico Dowdle. And like Williams is like your backup, your RB2. And then you could draft a running back like in the, I don't know, second round, third round, whatever, because they don't have a fourth round pick. So it'd be like third or fifth round, really. You could like draft a running back and then just let him kind of like develop a little bit. This year, behind, Rico Dowdle and Javonte Williams, but at least you're bringing back your 1,000-yard rusher, and who had a little, a bit of a breakout season. And you kind of try to build off that with some continuity, but they didn't. They decided to just revamp it all, and it's like, don't know if these are the right two guys, but I guess we'll see. Something tells me they might not even draft a running back, or if they do, it's going to be like the 6th or 7th round, which, all right, I guess we'll see how that works. I don't think we should go after Genty at this point. I think we have bigger needs, and I get the running back room is important, but if you draft Genty, Jerry did not sign 2 running backs for them both to be the RB2 and RB3. He's going to want them starting, and, Shoddy is going to have them starting, so it doesn't make sense to draft a running back first round just for him to be your RB3, especially with the 12th overall pick. Like, get somebody who can actually step in and contribute right away. I like the idea of O-lineman if somehow Kelvin Banks drops, and then maybe you can move Guyton over to right tackle, and please get rid of Steele, or maybe try Steele out at the guard. I don't care to replace Martin, but get him off of right tackle. You put Guyton there, and you can put Kelvin Banks at left tackle. I doubt he'll be there, though. So wide receiver makes sense. Maybe there's a good defensive lineman. Maybe you go there, or cornerback, Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron could be a good pick. Yeah, I'd say like Jahdae Barron or wide receiver. It depends on who's on the board. So, but we'll see. So yeah, disappointing for the Cowboys, but not surprising. I will say the team that I think actually did probably some of the best work in free agency was the Vikings. The Vikings did not overpay for a quarterback who, just did not show up the final 2 games of the season, which were also the most important 2 games of the season. Him not showing up costed you both the 1 seed and a deep playoff run. So, and with the weapons that you have at receiver, tight end, O-line, running back, because they brought back Devontae Adams, which was smart, and then the defense that you have, which I think actually got better through free agency, and they were already an elite defense. And then you're trusting J.J. McCarthy, which I think was smart. He showed really good flashes in the preseason. Hopefully he can come back and kind of get some of that form back underneath him that he was showing in the preseason. But I think that's the right move, especially long term. Like, you have a quarterback on a rookie scale contract that you feel good about. No need to overpay for a guy who, again, didn't show up in your 2 most important games of the season. So you take that chance on McCarthy. If it doesn't work out, you really don't have a ton of harm done. But I don't really see how it can't. You have so many weapons around him. You have a great defense around him. You have great coaching around him. He's primed to excel in that role. So Vikings did a great job in free agency. I think another one that I think did a great job is the Commanders, as much as it pains me to say. Because they're actually trying to build off of what was a great season for them. I mean, this was a fantastic season for them. I don't think even Commanders fans could have told you, oh, yeah, we're about to make the NFC Championship game with Jaden Daniels' rookie year. This was unbelievably great for them. And you actually built off of it. You understand that you have a quarterback on a rookie scale contract at your most important position, and you're like, okay, what was a bit of an issue? O-line. Let's bring in some O-line help. You brought in Tunsil from Houston, which is a big one. Then they brought in someone else who I cannot remember the name of for some reason. The Bears kind of did something similar too. They brought in some O-linemen to help out. But I'll get to the Bears in a second. But you brought in Deebo Samuel to be another playmaker in the wide receiver room next to McLaurin. You brought back your Zach Ertz for the tight end. You still have a good running. You have some good running backs, like Austin Eckler is still. He should be a good back. I don't know. He seemed a little bit rough last year. Maybe that was more on the O-line, and maybe this will improve it. We'll see. But you also have, I think, was it Brian Robinson? So they have a really good team. Are they as good as the Eagles? No, I don't think so. The Eagles were very deep. They did lose a lot of people, so I don't think they're quite as deep. Well, they'll probably just replenish it in the draft. But depending on how they draft, they might still be just as deep, or they might be where a few injuries ends up derailing them. We'll have to wait and see how they go, but they were still a very deep team. I think the Eagles are still a very good team, and still the best team in the conference, not just the division, but the conference. But the Commanders definitely are making a run at it. They're not just going to let the Eagles run away with the division this year. They're going to really push them. So, yeah, the NFC East, they're going to be very, top 2 look great. Cowboys, I don't know, we'll see. If the Cowboys do end up having a bit of a bounce back season, then NFC East could maybe have 3 playoff teams like they did. What was that? Oh, was that 22? 23? Not last year, but the year, or not this, it was 2 years ago, I believe, where they had 3 teams. It was the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles, not in that order. But either way, if the Cowboys do have a bit of a bounce back season, you could see NFC East having 3 playoff teams. Otherwise, I think they're definitely gonna have 2 between the Eagles and Commanders, barring injuries. I would say the Bears, they did some good stuff. They're trying to build around Caleb Williams more, trying to compete in what is a very tough division between them, the Lions, the Lions, Vikings, and Packers. I think that's the best division in all of football. I would say that's the best division in all of football. because Packers are still young. They're still going to be good, despite not maybe being super active in free agency. They're still going to be a very, very good team. You have the Lions will still be a very good team. They probably only got better, too. They didn't really lose a ton of people. So they'll still be very good. Vikings, I already mentioned, they're very, very good. Yeah, that could be a that's going to be a fun division. That's for sure. But, yeah, so I would say going to like some disappointing ones. A disappointing offseason, and number one disappointing offseason, the 49ers. The 49ers, like you were in the Super Bowl. Obviously not this last season, but the year before that. And injuries derailed your season this year. Like you had a ton of injuries. Injuries kind of derailed the Super Bowl game for you with Dre Greenlaw going down when he did in a freak accident, just running onto the sideline or running onto the field. It's like if he didn't go down, I feel like the 49ers win that game. Like that's got to burn 49ers fans, which as a Cowboys fan, but but I do feel for you 49ers fans because yes, you were probably going to win that if Greenlaw does not have that freak accident. So that does suck. And then you had to follow it up with watching over half your team get injured at some point in the season. And now you got to follow that up with having to watch half your team leave in free agency or via trade. And I don't really understand. I mean, look, the 49ers have come out and said, like they're preparing for something even better. So I don't know what plan they have. They should still be a good team. They got playmakers in pretty much every part of their team. And then they still have the draft and to try to keep improving and stuff, but I don't know. I don't feel like they're going to be this scary 49ers team that we've seen the last few years where they're just littered with star power everywhere. Like that's the thing. The Eagles were littered with star power everywhere and they had depth. 49ers were always just kind of all of our starters are going to be like star players, but we don't really have great depth behind them. Eagles kind of got both. That's why, despite any injuries, they were dominant in their Super Bowl run. And why I still think they're going to be just as good now. Whereas the 49ers, I'm like, you lost a lot of those star players. You didn't really have the depth to replace them. And you didn't really make the signings to replace them. So you're going to bank on the draft maybe? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see their vision, but I guess we'll find out. But I think it was a very disappointing offseason for them when you're just now about to be 2 years removed from a Super Bowl appearance. It's like even the last time that they were in the Super Bowl, you didn't really you built on it, but you also didn't really. It's like you didn't make it back to the Super Bowl for a few years before this last time, and now you might not go back for another couple years. I don't know how long it's going to take them to rebuild or retool, whatever. Probably retool. But hey, either way, we'll see what happens there. I think it was but it's been disappointing thus far. I think another one's kind of like the Chiefs. Like, you were on the cusp of three-peating, first team to ever do it, and you got blown out. Like, not even competitive, just blown out. And you haven't done a ton to get better. You kind of just more so try to maintain. And I get it. They probably are a bit tight salary cap-wise because, everyone that they have had to pay. Kelsey's not quite the guy that he used to be. I think he kind of showed that. So you might want to look at somebody to take over his place where maybe he can mentor him this next year. I know Kelsey said, this was not a good time to go out. You don't want to go out that way. I agree. I mean, I can see it. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to get something better. And this is not me saying, the Chiefs are not going to go back to the Super Bowl. They probably will. They have Mahomes. That seems to always just be enough to win the AFC. But the Bills got better. least I think they did. they feel like they got better. And they could still bring back Amari Cooper, who I think they should, truthfully. The Jets are trying to make some moves, which we'll see. The Ravens are still trying to compete now. The Bengals are got to improve the defense, and then they'll be back. And don't forget that's a team that's proved to have to give Kansas City some problems. And you still have, like, the Texans, of course, too. I mean, don't rule them out. They're still very, very good. Despite also kind of having a bit of a disappointing offseason, mainly because your issue was also O-line, and you didn't address it, really. And I don't think you're really bringing in the receivers. Like, last year, you were going in with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Nico Collins. There you go. So you're going in with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and you're like, oh my God, that's a big, big three for receivers. Joe Mixon as your running back. Oh my, this offense is gonna be elite. Nope. O-line struggles. Tank Dell's out for the season. Stephon Diggs out for the season. Nico Collins missed some time. Joe Mixon missed some time. And now, Tank Dell's probably still going to be out all of next year because of the injury. Stephon Diggs likely going to leave in free agency. So you really don't have, like, Nico Collins, who's good. Nico Collins is good enough to be, a difference maker, but you need something more. I guess the draft, that's what's going to come down to is how well these different teams draft. But so far, I've been a little unimpressed with the Texans. But, hey, there's still got C.J. Stroud, still got Nico Collins, still got Joe Mixon, still got great defense. And, yeah, so they could be back. And they could still pose a little bit of a threat to the Chiefs. But now you also have to worry about, the Broncos. They had a pretty good offseason so far. I don't know if I'd put them yet with those teams that I just named, but they have a good young quarterback. They have good team around him. They look like they got better. They have great coaching. They could be back. The Chargers, they have a young quarterback. They have some good players around them. They have great coaching. They'll keep getting better. So you have a lot of teams in the AFC making a push for it. This is a lot of parity in the NFL because I just named what was that, like 6-7 teams that I just named in the AFC? Let's see, Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Texans. I will have to wait. I have to see it to believe it for the Jets. It's probably just those 6 teams. I think that's pretty fair. That's still really, really deep. In that NFC, you have, again, Eagles, Lions, Pacers, Packers, Commanders, Vikings, Rams. Rams are still going to be a good team. Don't forget, hey, the Rams almost beat the Eagles, too. Let's not forget that. Rams almost beat the Eagles. They had some run stop difficulties, but they got rid of Cooper Kupp, but he didn't really do much for them to end the season, truthfully. It was more Puka, and then they brought in Devontae Adams to kind of replace Cooper Kupp, so I think they'll be perfectly fine. That's like 6 teams right there, and those are even kind of like some of those like bubble teams that's like, maybe they bounce back, maybe they don't. Like the Buccaneers, the Falcons are, Bears, Cowboys, like those are still teams that have talent. It's just how will they do? There's a lot of parity. It's a lot of fun. There's not too many rebuilding teams, but those rebuilding teams are very, very bad. So this should be a pretty fun season. I think it will be very interesting. I'm gonna wait to do any predictions, of course, until we get closer to the end and we can see like what teams look like after the draft. I don't really like to do mock drafts, truthfully, because I watch a lot of college football, but I don't watch that much to know like every single player. So I think it's a bit of unfair to try to do like a mock draft. but I know enough about these players to where I can tell, and look at analysis of them. But yeah, I want to see how teams look after the draft. See how teams do. Hopefully, my Cowboys can make some kind of magic happen. And come on, Cowboys. Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, get one of them. Come on. What are we doing? Just reunite with Amari Cooper. Pair the Diggs brothers together finally. Well, they won't be on the same side of the ball, but still. Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Bring back Stephon Gilmore too while you're at it. He shouldn't be that expensive because of his age, and Trevon Diggs is gonna miss a lot of time due to his injury. Oh, Cowboys are so pathetic. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from some teams. Other teams were disappointing. Specifically, again, like the Texans, 49ers. Come on, guys. 49ers, that's another team that could bounce back. My bad. But good things. Good things from Commanders. Good things from, why am I trying to blank? Oh, the Vikings. Rams made some good moves. So, be very, very interesting. Oh, the Seahawks, too. The Seahawks were a very interesting team. I'm sorry. I keep thinking I'm going to end it. Something else just pops in my head. Yeah, the Seahawks. Interesting decision to trade DK Metcalf. Steelers, great move. You needed another wide receiver. And, hey, DK Metcalf may not be the top of the top, but he's still very, very good and can definitely help out Pickett there. Now you just got to focus on your quarterback, which if I'm looking at Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, I get it. I've seen people we know what Wilson does, and we've seen how that works, but we haven't seen how Rodgers does. I agree, but I just think Wilson's more mobile than Aaron Rodgers. I don't think I know. And it's Wilson just kind of hitting the end of his career. So is Rodgers, but Rodgers also is coming out still. I don't think just never looked the same since that huge injury. Whereas at least Wilson can give you some flashes and maybe continuity second year with the program. Didn't help him out. I don't know. But I do like the Jets' move of bringing in Fields. So that was a great move. I think the Steelers should have brought back Justin Fields. That was their mistake, especially when you add DK Metcalf. That I think giving him an extra weapon would have been a lot better. But yeah, Steelers. I think you go back with Wilson. That's just my opinion. I think you should just go back with Wilson. He knows the system more. He knows he'll get off season with the players, a full off season. If you bring him back now at least, and hopefully, and he will know he's the starter instead of being the backup and then the starter. I think it'll flow better than trying to bring in a whole new quarterback again, teaching him the playbook and trying to get everything sorted out. It's go for some continuity, and try it that way. I don't think you should want to bring Aaron Rodgers in. He's not going to help you. He's not going to put you over the top. Bring in Wilson on a one-year deal. Draft a quarterback. Let him develop the rookie quarterback, and then you're off Wilson's contract. You have the rookie QB contract, and you have some weapons around him already, and a good defense. So, Steelers, come on, make the right move. Let's go. And then again, going back to the Seahawks, you bring in Daniel Jones. No. Yes. Who did they bring in? Oh, no. Whoa, what am I thinking? No. They brought in Darnold, right? Sam Darnold? I'm not going crazy, right? Yes, they brought in Sam Darnold. And then they brought in Cooper Kupp to pair with JSN. So JSN, Cooper Kupp, and Sam Darnold. So, yeah, their team looks a lot different. I think it was good to move off of Geno Smith, take a flyer on Sam Darnold. He's still, pretty young quarterback. Had a big breakout season last year. You still try to keep some weapons around him after getting rid of DK Metcalf by bringing in Kupp, who I think is better than Metcalf. And then you still have JSN. So you could be still a very good team. I don't think they're really going to compete though, in what's again a loaded NFC. I mean, both conferences are kind of loaded with a lot of talented teams, which is great. This is great for the sport. So we'll see how they look. But that was that was another very interesting move. Bringing in Sam Darnold, moving from Geno Smith, smart move. Geno Smith wasn't going to take you anywhere. No offense to him, just you've had him for multiple years and you just haven't seen it. So might as well take a flyer on Sam Darnold. Why not, right? Bring Cooper Kupp to help keep some weapons around him. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a solid team, probably. Definitely not an easy out anyways. It'll be interesting to see how Sam Darnold builds off that breakout year. Was it the Vikings organization and coaching, or was it really him actually figuring something out and unlocking something? So it should be a very fun season. Should be very interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Yeah, it was a crazy free agency trying to keep up with all the moves. This was a very, very fun one to keep track of. So, again, sorry if I did not talk about your team. I think I talked about a lot of them, though. So, hopefully I got at least a little bit of your team, if not enough of it. And we will, again, see what the draft holds. I think next week I might talk more about maybe draft needs. I think that would be a fun one. Some of the top contenders' draft needs and talk through those. And we'll see what happens there. But yeah, go ahead. Again, MLB, comment what your thoughts on like the salary cap are. NBA, go ahead and comment who you think is going to win it all for March Madness. I want to see that. I want to see how many people believe in Florida or Duke, or they're going to choose somebody else. Maybe like who thinks I'm going to be was it Arkansas will win it, or Texas Tech or something like that. Maybe like one of those like good teams that no one's talking about right now. So leave a comment who you think will win March Madness, and then for football, go ahead and leave a comment on how you believe your team did in free agency. Maybe you can even talk about what your draft needs are. But yeah, tell me how you feel about your team as we get close to the draft here. So thanks again. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. Helps me out a ton. If you're watching on Spotify, again, download, share. It means a lot. So any support, all support, greatly appreciated. Thanks, y'all. We'll catch you next week. I will get back on a good schedule. Thanks. Bye.